Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. Hope you guys are all enjoying your week, enjoying the international break. Despite what I'm about to go on to say in a second about Euro 2028, the international breaks aren't always the most exciting. England have got Serbia tonight and then Albania at the weekend. So yeah, it doesn't fill us with quite as much excitement as Newcastle United does. But I will say, actually, if you want to go and see Newcastle United women's play, they are on this Sunday at St James's Park against Sunderland. So there you go. If you want your Newcastle United fill this week, go and watch the women's. Hopefully beat Sunderland again, because they did last year. I went last year. It was good fun. We won. But as I say, St James's Park is set to host, revealed last night, 5 games at Euro 2028. So talk a little bit about those games, and then as well, a little bit about St James's Park. One of the newspapers this morning saying, could it be St James's Park's final hurrah before we look to move to a big new stadium? Thoughts and comments on that one down below. But we'll start off with, as I say, these 5 games. So it is a little while away yet. Euro 2028, the games will be held between the 12th of June and the 25th of June, and we've already known that Newcastle was one of the cities picked to host the games, alongside Manchester, Aston Villa, obviously Wembley, Cardiff have actually got the opening game. Newcastle will host 4 group games and then 1 round of 16 games. So, no, unfortunately, there's no semi-finals. We haven't got the final either. It is the more entry-level games. I think, I don't know, has Man City got a quarter? Basically, Wembley takes over once it gets to the later stages. But we have got a round of 16 game. And should England win their group, I believe that their round of 16 game will be played at St James's Park, which would be pretty cool. Knowing England, we won't. We'll come second in the group and we'll miss it. But regardless, undoubtedly it's going to create a huge buzz for the city. And, you know, I love England. You know, it'd be good to see them play at Newcastle. But let's be honest, you know, we had Athletic Club on the big market a week ago, and it took over the whole of the city. Imagine having, you know, I don't know, a couple of European teams playing at St James's Park, not even England. I think the city would be absolutely bouncing. Plenty of Geordies trying to get tickets to go and see some of the games. Loads of people coming over. It's going to be a bit of a party. Let's be honest, and we know we all love a party, so that will be great. They reckon it could raise as much as, well, this is for the UK, I think $3.5 billion for the UK, and we know we need it. I just come back from Spain for a long weekend. I was out there, watched us lose against Brentford, sat in a deck chair in the sun, so, you know, it could have been a worse place to, you know, cry and to be pint. But, you know, I'm getting pints out in Spain for €2. The exchange rate's 1 for 1. You know, we're paying 5-6 quid here. So, yeah, anyway, that's something else. That isn't football, but yeah, raising a bit of money for the local area. Just think of how busy. As I say, the big market was absolutely swamped with, you know, 3,000 fans from over in Spain. Imagine if it was actually Spain who played at Newcastle. The city will be absolutely bouncing. The club's benefiting, restaurants, hotels, you name it. So it's massive. It's massive for the city, and it is exciting as well. There was actually a bit of a launch party at Stack last night where they revealed the new Euro 2028 St James's Park picture with the Tyne Bridge. So yes, we're getting ready for it. People are excited, but undoubtedly you ask the question now of stadium, big old question mark. Because it wasn't that long ago, it was actually, I think it was a couple of years ago when they actually announced the host cities for this. So as of last night, they've started to reveal the the rundown on the fixtures, when they'll be. Five, as I say, 5 at St James's Park. We've known where the host cities would be for a little while now, and prior, people were having the conversation, oh, it's perfect. Newcastle will have the Gallagher End extended in time. They'll have the brand new stadium created in time, and that really has not come to fruition. Question marks now on what happens next. Things have obviously changed inside of St James's Park. You know, Darren Eales was the man who was leading the charge. That's now David Hopkinson. As I've mentioned, when Newcastle are off the back of some pretty poor form in the Premier League, I don't think brand new stadiums is necessarily at the forefront of people's brains anymore. But, you know, upstairs, PIF, still looking at that far bigger picture. You have to say, you know, to host these kind of events, you've got to have those big fancy stadiums. That was a big part of, you know, how St James's Park got there. And then you look further afield at, you know, World Cups and as we've discussed previously, a venue for all occasions, you know, and you know, that's when you take a bit of a turn as to how you feel about the whole situation. Because I was gonna say, you know, look at Spurs having things like the NFL at their multi-purpose stadium. You know, you have to assume that with PSR, to generate more match day income, to get more fans in the stadium, to create more ticket revenues, for, you know, unfortunately, to get more corporate out of the stadium. Like, there's so much going on there, and you can understand why the new stadium has been looked at. But with something like this coming up, if the answer was going to be we're going to extend the Gallagher, well, it'll have to be after 2028 now. I cannot see them coming up with a decision and extending the stadium in time for, you know, 3 years' time. So then you look at, okay, well, if they go for a brand new stadium, how would that look? If they did do it in Leazes Park, I guess technically speaking, they can go ahead and do it and just have the games on and that stadium's in the background. But, you know, you talk about Leazes Park, you talk about having fan events in the park next to the stadium, meet-up areas for the foreign fans, you know, having a gigantic building site right next to the current stadium probably isn't a great look either. As I've mentioned, one of the newspapers this morning saying the last hurrah for St James's is Euro 2028, and I can see where they're coming from. I can see the idea of that. Maybe that's meant to be like the last like big, I guess, international global kind of thing, as opposed to just Premier League's watched all around the world as well, isn't it? So you can have your 2 pence on that one. But I'm sure there'll be a lot of eyes on Euro 2028. I would be shocked if they even started building the new stadium before then. But you let me know your thoughts down below. Do you think Newcastle should still be really dialing in and pushing to get this sorted? It's a big event and something that's going to take a lot of organisation, but I just feel like this stadium lark has just dragged on for quite some time. As I've mentioned, it has gone quiet because we've not played very well recently. But you would suggest that in the background that the gears are still in motion and that we are still on our way to see that new stadium at Leazes Park. Who knows? By 2030, by 2032, whenever England are able to host World Cups, or I don't know when we'll be next in line for the Euros, a long time away, maybe that will be a different stadium than St James's Park, and maybe that is kind of what the angle of that article is trying to push for. But thoughts and comments down below. Are you excited to see Newcastle take on 5 to 6 games at the Euro 2028? Do you think Newcastle should have moved quicker and we should have had St James's Park extended to 70,000, 80,000, or even had a new stadium being built right now ready for that global event? Or is it actually quite a nice way to see St James's Park seen on a global scale before it's changed or before it's moved to a new stadium? Or do you think actually the way we're playing right now, we'll just stick with the stadium we've got? Or maybe you just don't want to move at all. Okay, guys, thoughts and comments down below. Thanks for watching, as always. Enjoy your international break. Enjoy England tonight against Serbia. Enjoy the women's game on Sunday if I don't speak to you before then. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you later.